Men who cheated. What did / do you think of your mistress? I feel bad for using her to escape a relationship. If I could redo it, I'd leave my ex and give things a real shot with her. But after the way it all played out, it felt best to just let things end. I can relate. When I was younger, I was in a very toxic relationship that had completely broken me down over 5 years. I had finally ended it, but had somehow ended up as friends with her. I got myself a new girlfriend who was very supportive and made me truly realize how bad I had before. But I was too afraid to tell my crazy ex that I was with someone new. So whenever X was around, I had to pretend GF didn't exist, and the poor GF knew what I was doing. At some point X wanted to get back together, and I was too scared to say no. And being the PI I somehow gaslit / convinced my new amazing GF that polyamory is a thing, and that I love both women equally. But somehow she was the only one who knew I was dating 2 women, and had to behave like my dirty little secret. Eventually the ex found out, and the whole thing imploded. By then, I had soured my relationship with both women beyond repair. Again, I wish I had gotten a clean break and given the new girl a fair chance. It was all in the past. But ho, things have soured for that amazing new GF when you decide to not have a clean start with her in the first place. Hope you are a better person now. I have no idea how some men can have the energy to deal with 2 women. It's hard enough for me to keep one happy after working, taking her out, spending time with her, doing household stuff and yard work, keeping up with friends. I do not have time for a second or third girlfriend. I don't know how other men do it. Not that I care to, just don't get it. Agreed, I'd never cheat. Having a wife and 2 toddlers. By the time 9 to 10 PM rolls around, I'm dead. I do feel like most of the men I know that cheat are never home anyway and never take care of their own kids. So to them, their family is S, so it's probably not that big of a deal. The one guy I know who's always cheating does it because he doesn't get the love and support at home. But he's never home, and when he is, he's telling his wife everything that's wrong with her, picking apart her parenting, the house, her job, etc. So they fight, and he leaves to cheat, leaving her at home with their super high needs disabled child. So yeah, I guess if you got time to cheat, it's because you're not putting work in on one relationship. Damn, this could have been written about the man I married. He had all the time in the world to cheat. BC, he put 0 effort in at home. When he was home, it was just to be an asshole. I was in a dead bedroom situation where I had been married for 10 years, and at least 8 of those years it was sex maybe once or twice a year. A woman I worked with who was 7 years younger than I am started to make passes at me. I finally felt sexy again. She knew I was married, but apparently one of my colleagues told her his wife's a B. Within a few weeks of our escalating flirtations, we were having sex. Within 4 months I'd ask my wife for a divorce. As my grandmother liked to say, life's too short to be unhappy. I married her 3 years after my divorce became final. 12 years and 3 kids later, I'd say I made the right choice. Do you have any idea what your ex is doing these days? She died about 3 years after our divorce. Didn't manage her diabetes worth a damn. Oh shit. Well, that took a turn. I have never had a mistress or cheated on any partner, but a friend, sort of, is doing that. Again, sort of. His wife knows about this other woman, but doesn't say much as long he is giving her money for her and the kids. She is willing to look the other way. He is gonna make the mistress his second wife though, because ironically he is more pissed off that his wife doesn't seem to care that he has a mistress. So in his mind he wants to ruin her happiness by pitting his mistress against his wife, by purposely giving his mistress a luxurious life, but just give the bare minimum to his wife. And why he wants to ruin the happiness of his wife, people ask. She admitted she still loves her first boyfriend. Ths are in arranged marriage. Even worse is that he is infatuated with his wife's 19th-year-old niece, who he is sort of sugar daddy-eyeing. It's weird he brings her around to introduce her to us like she is some possession. I try my best to steer clear from him as I don't agree with his way of life, but as the other guys consider him one of the boys, I just keep a cordial distance from him, cause I know when his life implodes with all these drama, he is not going to be the great guy the rest think he is. Bro, WTF. The guy's life is one whole clusterfuck of disasters about to happen. Don't know if you'll get another response from a gay guy in a love triangle with 2 women, but I'm that idiot guy. The whole thing was just me thinking with my D only. My reason was unusual, but still very stupid, I admit. See, my current GF is really beautiful and a lovely person. I decided to be in a straight relationship with her. So you could say I had FOMO really bad cause I was just with men before. Until I met my current GF. I really liked sex with her, it was new and great. Different and fun. I really wondered if other women were just as good. I stupidly chose to try out more options with different women. Thinking with my D like I said. App and I met and flirted. Exchanged numbers. We agreed to meet up. I didn't feel much guilt at first. Just very horny. We started to get to business and guilt hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought about my girlfriend at home, how she wasn't put off by my past. A lot of women are. She loved me so much, and she was good in bed. I felt so bad being a greedy ass right then. I didn't want to risk losing my GF with app. She wasn't even as pretty. She was actually looking as bad as I felt. Worst part of this, I would ruin our son's life with this shite. I didn't think of him. I did what I had to do. I got up and left. Right then. This wasn't going to happen. I'm done. We didn't have sex, but we did kiss and feel each other up. That was bad enough. I felt sick to my stomach on my drive home. I never wanted to see her again. Ever. So I knew that I would run into app at work if I left to get takeaway. Lunch break was the only time I saw app, and I explained to my secretary that we would need to have lunch delivered from now on. I was ghosting her. I don't know how men go through with these things and go home to their families like nothing happened. I felt so guilty and it showed. My app and I are both garbage humans. So I will answer the big question, what do I think of app? Not good things. I'm really okay with only having sex with one woman, my GF, for the rest of my life. No FOMO. I do not need to lose my family just to play the field. Did you tell your GF? I wondered how this was going to go for the guys who fessed up. About like I thought. Lol. Him thinking most guys willing to share their story don't really care about what some random internet person says. I sure don't. I'm already paying for it 1,000,000 times over. Nothing anyone says here even registers on the scale. Exactly this. I've made a comment on this post detailing my experience. I've already had the standard attempt to delve into my psyche replies. Like it's their business to find out in depth why I did what I did. Reddit can be so good, but it's populated with some of the worst kinds of social rejects. This platform's user base makes Twitter's look tame sometimes. Social rejects is very accurate. While I can't pretend all men think the same as me, my thoughts are like this. If I see a good looking woman, I'm not above having thoughts about it. I personally believe that a big part of making sure you're not going to cheat is not putting yourself in positions to have the opportunity. Because like when I quit smoking before, the problem isn't like you say no I do not want a cigarette one time and you win. Your brain asks you that question over and over again, like 1,000 times a day. So you can tell yourself you're going to be a good husband and that's well and good. But if you test it 1,000 times a day, that's asking a lot. All of that said, I have zero emotional availability. My emotions are all used up between my wife and my kids. There's not a spare feel for anyone else to be had. For me personally, you could lock me in a room of eager, beautiful, naked women and I'd come out of that room still a loyal man. Sex is just that. Sex. And what is sex exactly? You get to feel close to someone. Feels pretty good and lasts about 15 minutes I'd say. It's not all that. Certainly not worth risking a marriage for, that's for sure. Basically what I'm trying to say is, sex isn't all that it's chalked up to be and it most definitely isn't something worth ruining a marriage over. Now not everyone's circumstances are the same, and not every marriage is worth staying in. But if you love your so and want to stay with your so, not cheating is like the easiest thing to do. I cheated and got caught after a 3-year affair. I was in a sexless marriage 4 years and there was no love anymore. Our relationship was cold and robotic. I met a woman who was also married and in a pretty situation as well. We started out just talking on our spouses, which slowly escalated into hanging out outside of work and eventually hooking up. Our first sexual encounter was easily one of my best as we were both very attracted to each other and stuck in very STI situations. We were really into each other and we spent a ton of time together. I got caught because her husband found out about the affair and contacted my wife on social media about it. Divorce sucks, but I'm a much happier man now. I never looked down on my mistress though. She was in a pretty emotionally abusive relationship and at the end of the day I was cheating too. What happened after you got caught? I straight up told her the truth and we got divorced. Why didn't you do that before cheating? Walking away or quitting isn't as easy as some on here think it is. And there's a slew of reasons why. Not worth the sacrifice of a great marriage. Kids, losing friends, time, money, etc. For that, most of these, if not all, had not the great marriage. Honestly, I'd argue that cheating in a happy marriage in general is extremely rare. Like, it can happen, but the vast majority of the time someone cheats, the relationship was already on the rocks. I would imagine that the greatest predictor of a cheating male partner is a dead bedroom. Guilt. Extreme guilt. Shame. For many reasons I fucked this woman's life up. It's been over a year since I broke things off, and she still talks about me to coworkers. She said she would marry me in a heartbeat, and I said if she'd agree to a prenup then yes. She refused. I got the impression she was after me as a way out. She makes 40k a year. I make 10x that. I ran into her months ago. Randomly, she got tears in her eyes and hugged onto me before I could say or do a thing, telling me how much she missed me. I knew in that moment it wasn't the money. She loved me truly and deeply in a way that I couldn't return, and I've been in that position before. I know how much it sucks to have love not being returned. She loved me, and I destroyed her, making her think I'd leave my wife, which I honestly had planned on doing. Hell, I had talked to divorce attorneys, but ultimately I just couldn't. I hate myself for it. I hate that I cheated on my wife. I hate that I lost my affair partner as my best friend. I hate that I hurt two people that I supposedly loved. To answer the question, no, she's not an idiot. We fell in love. We are extremely compatible, and the sex was best I've ever had. There was a deep connection there, unlike anything I've had before or since. I don't look down on her at all. My wife found out, and we are working through it. I'm doing better as a husband and a father. I try to make up for what I did every damn day, even though I know I never will. I'm not going to stop trying. Sorry to chime in as a woman, but this needs to be said. Please just leave and end one relationship before starting another. You can reduce so much hurt and shame for yourself, and you can keep your integrity. Do the right thing and then start your next relationship. As a wife, ex now, of a cheating husband, after 12 years of marriage, I think it's important that all men are aware of how much trauma and emotional damage cheating/betrayal does to your wife and kids. Even if you don't care about the wife anymore, think about your kids. They feel shamed and betrayed too. Unless you've been through it, it's easy to minimize the trauma, but I assure you it's horrific. Worse than death of a dear loved one and assault. Spoken from experience. Well said. I hope you get better. Two of my coworkers were involved in an affair. She was single. He was married. From her perspective, they were in love, and she thought he was going to leave his wife and kids for her because she became pregnant. He didn't. He was able to save his marriage and started to ignore her at work. He was a manager, and supposedly another manager and him were treating her terrible to the point that she left. They all made her seem crazy and obsessed, and for like 3 years he was all she talked about. It's all over, but now she's a single mom and everything is great for him. Men who cheat are definitely an issue, but women who accept the bare minimum are as well. As many men have mentioned in this thread, if you truly love your family and giving your all, you have no time to F around with someone else. Healthy relationships leave time for hobbies and activities, not time to have a whole other relationship. Thank you for your answer, but I was looking for personal stories from cheaters. Sorry. Different style answer to your question. Opus. With many compounding things in my family and work life reaching a boiling point, I became very insecure. So I did what a stupid man does and downloaded dating apps. Originally, This was done to seek some validation and bring a smile to my life when I needed one. It helped to remind myself that so many people wanted me when it seemed no one else in my life did. Then, that festered into using Tinder profiles to fuel a resurfacing porn addiction. Never once met up with any of those girls, but it was a terrible and nasty thing to do to someone I wanted to marry. My lady obviously caught me, and it was impossible to explain any of it because it didn't make sense to me either. At the end of it all, she left me. Since then, I've lost 20 pounds, cut my porn usage to about once a week, down from about 3 times a day, and go to therapy twice a week. Overall, I would not recommend a mistress of any type. Just be a man and communicate with your significant other about the problems you are going through. I mean, are you really surprised by some of the crazy s that people write on the internet? Sometimes, yes. I have more respect for her than any other woman or person in general I've ever met. We fell in love at the least convenient time. It was so unexpected. My whole life was basically planned out, and I was excited about it. My ex and I weren't a perfect match, but I expected it to last the rest of my life. Then I met my current partner. There was something undeniable about our connection. I know it doesn't usually work out like that, but I found my forever person after I thought I'd found my person. It was so painful to end my marriage and I struggled with it for a while, but everything has been worth it. My ex has moved on and remarried, and she seems so much happier too, which I'm really glad for. It's not the best origin story, but we've been together about 3 years now, and I fall more in love with her every day. If you are dating a married man and you are unhappy, just leave him. Some people are extremely curious. I'm also a super curious person, so when I saw the question posed I grabbed my popcorn. Not me personally, but my uncle was married to my auntie for a good 20 plus years before it came out he was having an affair. My auntie was neurotic. He was always working. Neither of them were happy. It was a shitty way to go about it. But he is now remarried to his mistress and has a kid with her, and is the happiest I've ever seen him my whole life. She was/is my dream woman. Every single thing about her was exactly what I was looking for, and she came into my life as the GF of my friend a few months after I had given up looking for her and settled to have a family. I never said anything to anyone. We got close as friends over the years, but never crossed the line in any way. Both couples got married and had kids. 15 years later, both marriages were going down the shitter and the woman and I supported each other in a hang in there. Things will get better type of support. Still, no boundaries crossed. And then, one day, things seemed different. Hello/bye hugs were closer and longer. She seemed to want to be by me more. She would brush against me occasionally. And I, someone who has pretty much been invisible to women my whole life, didn't really pick up on it until one day, at a wedding. She asked me to dance, and she just kept looking at me and smiling. So then I asked her about us, and if it was something she was interested in. She said yes, so we made plans to have an affair. It went on for 5 to 6 years, and I was in heaven. We both couldn't quite get a divorce for reasons I can't really say, until about 5 more years. Then one day, after being able to spend a wonderful morning together, one of the happiest days of my life, she decided at some point that day that we were done. She never said anything to me, and we still haven't discussed it over 10 years later. I just noticed that she didn't seem to want to talk anymore. Hugs hi/bye weren't as emotional. She would look away when I looked at her, and any attempts to schedule times to get together were either just ignored or were turned down. Eventually, I got the hint. It broke me. I had spent 30 years of my life looking for the perfect girl, and then she just ghosts me in the end. I believe I was just a revenge affair to make her feel better about her situation, but once she decided to get a divorce, she didn't need me anymore. Then 2 years later she came back to be asking for support with her current BF, and then she told me things about that relationship that just crushed my soul. I don't think I could ever be with another woman after that. And now, after supporting her for 30 years, she has ghosted me yet again, knowing fully how I feel, leaving me to rot trying to forget everything about her. I guess you can say I got what I deserved. I never thought I would be a cheater. I have never cheated before or after. I wasn't that type of person. There was just something about this one woman that I just had to see through. Karma at its best, I guess. What did she tell you about the other relationship that crushed your soul? If they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. The comment section was wild, saying things like she was just W and that a married man would never leave his wife for her. So I'm asking men who cheated, non-judgment here. Do you look down on your mistress? Do you believe that they are complete idiots for falling for you, not a cheater? But a few things to consider. If you ask a question like this, answers will naturally tilt towards a specific perspective, because, at least on Reddit, very few people will honestly say yay, I liked the sex, but I only used her and actually looked down on her for it. The thing is, as far as I know, only 3% of men who have an affair leave their wives for the mistress. That is the most relevant fact.